Yan Jiecheng's soul pierced into the world of poultry-filled quadrangles in 1960 and became the eldest son of the Yan family, Yan Jiecheng. A punch from the silly pillar gave Yan Jie the opportunity to have a soul-piercing ability in later generations. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yan Jiecheng turned around and left the Yan family. Yan Jiecheng, who owed Yan Bugui a debt, with the help of the system, paid off the debt through fishing and hunting. Continuously provoking all the beasts in the courtyard. Only in this way can you get the anger value lottery. After acquiring skills in the system, Yan Jiecheng not only suppressed the beasts in the courtyard, but also wanted to use his own strength to help the steel rolling mill and make his own contribution to building this country. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Yan Jiecheng's Reverse Tiangang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yan Jiecheng felt a sharp pain on his forehead and opened his eyes repeatedly, murmuring, stepping on a horse, who is so wicked. Throw the flower pot from upstairs. No, that's not right. I shouldn't be in the hospital. What kind of place is this? Lying in bed, Yan Jiecheng was shocked because what caught his eye was a slightly blackened wooden board. These wooden boards have now become a herringbone-shaped roof. This is an old-fashioned house. It's covered with mud and tiles. I'm riding a horse, is this a time travel? At this moment, 3 big faces appeared in Yan Jiecheng's field of vision. Startled, Yan Jiecheng quickly sat up. The piercing pain in the head is much better. Did you wake up? Not bad, not bad. Take your time. A man in his 40s with a flat head and a square face full of righteousness said. Yeah, Yan Jiecheng, you've had a hard time fighting with someone, haven't you? You must remember our teachings in the future, said a tall, chubby black man. Standing in the middle is a skinny man, also in his 40s and almost 50s. If it weren't for him wearing a big cotton coat and glasses, Yan Jiecheng would have thought he was a big monkey. No, my name is Yan Jiecheng. But I can't cross over into this TV drama either. Yan Jiecheng was a bit panicked. He is a modern person, how should he live in this animal courtyard? And it seems that this is like crossing time and becoming Yan Jiecheng. At this moment, a wave of information exploded in Yan Jiecheng's mind. That is the memory of his predecessor, which helped Yan Jiecheng understand what had happened. On January 19, 1960, Yan Jiecheng had just graduated from high school at the age of 18. This did not conflict with silly Zhu, who knocked him out with a punch. The 3 people in front of me are the hypocrite Zhonghai, the official lunatic Lu Haizhong, and the iron abacus Yan Bugui. I need to go to the police. Yan Jiecheng gritted his teeth, word by word squeezing out from between his teeth. What kind of police report? It's not very normal for young people to fight and make noise, Zhonghai said with a righteous expression. I've already said that things in the courtyard will be resolved in the courtyard. The pillar has already lost 5 yuan, in your father's hands. Yan Bugui pushed his glasses and said, all right, I just got punched. I'll have your mother cook you a bowl of fish soup later. Yan Bugui was holding on to the 5 yuan in his hand. Yan Jiecheng's anger filled his mind and he said inwardly, this horse rider. I'm not falling into a pit anymore. It's a year of great disaster now, and it's still at Yan Bugui's house. It's not worth it. Before crossing the river, Yan Jiecheng was a pleasure without meat. He is a national weightlifter with hobbies such as fishing and practicing octopus. Alright, that's it. There's still a solution. You can take a break this afternoon and continue doing odd jobs tomorrow. You haven't paid the rent and meal expenses for this month yet. Yan Bugui's eyes were all bright. At this moment, Yan Jiecheng's mind rang out with a ding sound, followed by a mechanical sound. Ding, bind the Rage Points lottery system of the all heavens and all realms. The host can activate the system by angrily attacking 3 beasts. In addition, the host must stay in courtyard 95. Otherwise, the system will unbind. After a moment of confusion, Yan Jiecheng looked at Zhonghai's bangs and Yan Bugui with complex eyes. He certainly wants to activate the system. As a soul passed through in later generations, there is no familial affection towards Yan Bugui. For him, Yan Bugui and his family are strangers. Then they will have no psychological burden. Moreover, watching a TV drama in a courtyard house full of birds before crossing the border is hard for Yan Jiecheng to calm down. I got into a fight with someone. That's a fool who hit me, okay. Master Lu, your mouth shows that you have no culture, and you still want to become an official like yourself. TSK. By the way, return your teachings. You're just a blacksmith, pretending to be a cultured person. Yan Jiecheng directly poked the lung duct in the bangs. Zhonghai's bangs widened his eyes with Yan Bugui, looking at Yan Jiecheng as if he were looking at a madman. And Master Yi, you've said it before. What kind of leader are you? Just do what you said. You're just a worker. And you said things in the courtyard will be settled in the courtyard. Why do you want to become a local emperor? Yan Jiecheng looked at Zhonghai disdainfully. I'm doing it for the sake of the courtyard. Zhonghai trembled with air. The hat of this local emperor is worn, and if you don't eat peanuts, you have to take off 3 layers of skin. For the sake of the courtyard. For the sake of yourself, right? With all your words in the courtyard now, you are quite a local emperor. Yan Jiecheng said angrily. Zhonghai was no longer in the city, and by this time he was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. Yan Bugui angrily said, Yan Jiecheng, what do you want to do? Do you want to turn things around? I want to turn things around. I was knocked unconscious and had a concussion. Your 5 yuan was like eating bee poop. Yan Jiecheng sneered, you're using an abacus, and the abacus beads are jumping on my face. You're going crazy. Yan Bu trembled with pride. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I need to go to the police now. Yan Jiecheng got out of bed and stood up. I feel dizzy, nauseous, and want to vomit. Then I have to go to the hospital. Get out of here and treat yourself like a big shot one by one. At this moment, Yan Jiecheng's mind jingled, ding, the system has been successfully activated. A beginner's gift package, host. Before the system could finish speaking, Yan Jiecheng urgently said, claim it. The newbie gift pack has been successfully claimed, and the host will receive the following rewards. The portable storage space is 350 cubic meters. The spiritual and physical superposition of the host's 2 lifetimes. 100 big meat buns. Yan Jiecheng felt as if he had been inflated. Physical and mental strength are immediately different. He felt like he could kill a tiger. I'll go call the police now, nothing you say is of use, Yan Jiecheng said coldly. From his predecessor's memory, Yan Jiecheng knew that the silly pillar's house was in the courtyard. There are 2 main rooms and 2 west-facing ear rooms. This time, we must get a house from silly Zhu's hands. I happen to have a break with Yan Bugui, who is a calculating expert. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been skinned to the bone at the Yan family. As an experienced teacher, how could Yan Bugui only receive his claimed salary of 27.5 yuan? He earns 45 yuan a month. Yan Bugui has become accustomed to being stingy, and the money is all worn on his ribs. In the TV drama, Yan Jiecheng opened a restaurant and asked him to borrow money, which was calculated based on high-interest loans. Zhonghai panicked immediately. That's his spare tire for retirement, silly pillar. Yan Jiecheng, you grew up with Zhu Xiaofa. How could you send him to the fence just because of this? Zhonghai quickly waved his moral baton. Growing up together since childhood. I was beaten up by him from a young age. This time, I will definitely send him to squat inside and report your problems on the street. Yan Jiecheng said sternly. Zhonghai is completely numb. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. The system is really good awesome. You are listening at novel full.audio. Yan Bugui looked up and down at Yan Jiecheng, feeling that he had been mentally ill from that punch. Zhonghai is still very experienced. He frowned and said, "Let me explain it to you. What are the conditions?" "What conditions?" "I was beaten to a concussion. Stupid Jew will be locked up for at least 3 or 2 months, and there will be compensation for me." Yan Jiecheng settled the accounts first. Stop. What do you want?" Zhonghai said directly. "It's very simple, I don't have a place to live right now. Give me a room in the ear room of the silly pillar. Just transfer it to me," Yan Jiecheng said coldly. Yan Bugui listened with joy and took a step back. Yan Jiecheng looked at this small house now. There are only 15 or 16 square meters and 3 beds built with bricks and wooden boards. The quilt on top is tattered and old. "What? How dare you?" Zhonghai's chin was about to hit his feet. "If not, then I'll go report to the police. He should compensate me." Yan Jiecheng glared at Zhonghai. "Well, I'll go discuss with Zhu," Zhonghai said helplessly. He also knew that it was impossible for Yan Bugui to come forward and suppress Yan Jiecheng at this time. If there are cheap options, Yan Bugui will bite and not let go. "Okay, I promise." Silly Pillar shouted at the door. Silly Zhu has an old face that looks like 40, and now he has a look of anger on his face. His name is Silly Zhu, of course not stupid. What would happen if Yan Jiecheng were to report to the police? "Okay, let's go handle the transfer procedures now," Yan Jiecheng said. "Today is Sunday, but the streets are not closed. This era truly serves the people. You're ruthless. Don't let Yan Jiecheng fall into my hands after you," said Silly Zhu fiercely. Silly Zhu didn't keep a house in his heart. If it were sold, it wouldn't be worth 200 yuan. But if he foolishly came into the police station, it would cost several hundred yuan. "Yan Jiecheng, this is the household registration book. Take it. By the way, it falls under my name." Yan Bugui smiled brightly. He miraculously transformed his household registration book. Yan Jiecheng grabbed the household registration book and sneered, "It falls under your name so that you can continue to collect my rent. I happen to go over and open a separate account." Yan Bugui couldn't believe his ears and said, You're going to split up. It's impossible." At this moment, many people came to the front yard to watch the excitement. "I'm 18 years old and already an adult. It's not something you can control," Yan Jiecheng pursed his lips and said, "I think you can understand that. After all, you have some knowledge." "Yan Jiecheng, what are you doing? You're being unfilial." Zhonghai seemed to have poked a lung tube. "It's all parents in the world, only children who don't do it well. You're leaving a name for yourself. I'll make the decision." Yan Jiecheng sneered and said, "Master Yi, you haven't figured out your identity yet. Who are you making the decision? Who wants you to make the decision? What you just said, a proper feudal patriarch. What's wrong? Do you still want to carry out restoration? Let us poor people suffer from the second crop of hardship and suffer from the second crop of sin." Yan Jiecheng casually put on a big hat. "No. I don't. I'm not worth it." Zhonghai was so scared that he quickly came to deny Sanlian. Yan Bugui said with a gloomy face at this moment, "All right, Yan Jiecheng, your wings have grown hard. Let's calculate the accounts. Old lady, please bring Yan Jiecheng's account book." "Good guy, Yan Bugui has accounted for Yan's expenses since birth. I've included all the buttocks wiping paper I've been using in the past 2 years. Although this paper was used by students who were brought back from school by Yan Bugui for free. You spent more than 500 yuan on me in total. Even if you do. Yan Bugui said coldly, you take out 500 yuan, and we gave birth to your money. Okay, I'll give you 500 yuan within a month. Yan Jiecheng said decisively, after you retire, I'll give you 5 yuan a month. This is to repay your kindness. Let's write an agreement, and after I give you 500 yuan, you'll be a stranger. Yan Bugui blinked his little eyes and said decisively, okay, I'll write it now. Jiecheng. Why are you just like this? Yan Bugui's wife Yang Yuhua wiped her tears and said. Why? Just look at the accounts you two have recorded, and you'll know why, Yan Jiecheng said indifferently. Zhonghai had something else to say, but he opened his mouth and looked at Yan Bugui's account book. Zhonghai closed his mouth with a bitter smile. At this moment, the mechanical sound of the system echoed in Yan Jiecheng's mind. Yan Bugui's anger value +5 +4. Anger in the bangs +10 +9. He Yushu's anger value +10 +9. Zhonghai's anger value +10 +9. Yan Jiecheng felt secretly pleased and watched as Yan Bugui wrote 2 copies of the agreement. Without hesitation, I signed and pressed my finger seal on this side. Yan Bugui also signed, and Zhonghai and Lu Haizhong, as witnesses, also signed and pressed their finger seals. And the voluntary compensation agreement for Silly Pillar's assault has also been settled together. I went to the street and quickly got things done. When he returned, Yan Jiecheng brought several tattered wooden boards, clothes, and blankets to the westernmost ear room in the courtyard. These have all been calculated by Yan Bugui. This ear room, which is 20 square meters in size, now belongs to Yan Jiecheng. After closing the door, in the gray and protruding house, Yan Jiecheng sat on the bed and took a deep breath. It should be 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon now. Take out a steamed bun from your personal storage space. The size of the bun surprised Yan Jiecheng. This thing weighs a full pound and can be bitten down in one bite. Full of delicious meat filling, the bun skin is very thin. I have a system, and I can't get 500 yuan in a month. That's really a joke. Yan Jiecheng started studying the system while gnawing on the buns. Brother Guanzi, why doesn't he have a data panel? This experience is not good. Yan Jiecheng secretly said in his heart. The data panel unfolds. The mechanical sound of the system was devoid of any emotion. Host Yan Jiecheng. Strength 30, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, spiritual power 20, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, anger value 980. Mall gold coins 3798, Yan Jiecheng just saw through it clearly and hasn't had a chance to be proud yet. I heard the voice of the system say, the system mall is open, the blind box is open. Get a free blind box once for the first time. There are only food and daily necessities in the mall, and the technological content does not exceed the current era. Yan Jiecheng was surprised and asked, how come I have so many gold coins? This is the money on your bank card before your soul pierced, exchanged for gold coins, said Brother Guanzi coldly. It's okay, no one else is cheaper. Unfortunately, I bought the house in full, Yan Jiecheng said. Your house has become a storage space, said Brother Tong. Yan Jie was taken aback, fortunately he bought a house himself. Otherwise, the storage space would be gone. How did you calculate this 350 cubic meters? Ah. I understand. Yan Jiecheng understood. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Angry Slaying of Jia and Zhang clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yan Jiecheng understood it in a moment. His house covers an area of 125 square meters, and the volume is obtained by multiplying it by the height of the house. Tisk, there's still a house. Otherwise, the storage space would be gone. Yan Jiecheng whispered in his heart, if I had known I had bought a bigger one, a loan would have been fine. After gnawing on 2 large meat buns, Yan Jiecheng bought a bottle of Arctic Ocean in the mall and poured it down. I just went to see the recharge system in the mall. What? In this era, there is only 1 gold coin for recharging 1 yuan. Nima, don't lose out. Your prices are in 2024, Yan Jiecheng screamed in agony. He just realized that the rice in the mall costs a few yuan per kilogram. It's not like 1 cent per kilogram in this era. I just spent 5 yuan per bottle of Arctic soda, not the current 15 cents. At this moment, Brother Guanzi felt as if he was dead, silently attacking without making a sound. At this moment, Yan was relieved of his panic. I originally intended to make a fortune through the system. How else can I make a fortune? It's not bad if you don't pay for it. If it weren't for the money on his previous bank card, Yan Jiecheng would have been even more embarrassed. Can I exchange coins for money in the system? Yan Jie took a deep breath. No, we can only recharge soft girl coins to exchange for gold coins, said Brother Guanzi. Nima. Yan Jiecheng was about to spit out a mouthful of old blood, but immediately thought of something. Hehe, I can buy something to exchange for money. Master Su, this is the 1950s. Are you sure you need money with an unclear origin, said Brother Guanzi calmly. Yan Jiecheng was stunned for a moment before realizing that in this era, your expenses exceeded your income. Then it will have to be pulled for review. I was planning to give the money to Mr. Yan as soon as possible. I'm holding my golden rice bowl and going to beg for food, Yan Jiecheng murmured. Host, you're really stupid. You still have 1 chance to draw a blind box for free. Brother Guanzi hates the sound of iron not turning into steel. Ah, yes, yes. I hope you can give me 800 yuan with a source, Yan Jiecheng rubbed his hands and said secretly. At this moment, 7 small boxes appeared on the light screen in front of Yan Jiecheng. The middle one. I want the middle one. Yan Jiecheng hurriedly said. Then the box popped open with a smile, and there was a scene of Venus rising randomly. Next came the mechanical voice of Brother Tongzi. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the power of the psychic mind. Now the power ability level is E. Then Yan Jiecheng's own data panel appeared in his eyes. Host Yan Jiecheng. Strength 30, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, spiritual power 40, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, anger value is 1000. Mall gold coin 3793, power level E for supernatural powers. I can only move items weighing no more than 5 pounds within 5 meters of the power level E. Tsk, I now have the motivation to think. Yan Jiecheng whispered in his heart, my spiritual power has doubled all of a sudden. And this gold coin was indeed deducted 5 yuan. When you think of 5 yuan in this era, that's the average person's monthly living expenses. Yan Jiecheng's heart was throbbing with pain. No, such stingy calculations must be caused by the subconscious of our predecessor. Yan Jiecheng understood in a moment, when had he ever calculated like this? Get out of here. Yan Jiecheng let out a loud roar in his heart. The spiritual power that reached 40 surged in my mind. Swept and merged some mental fragments together. In an instant, Yan Jiecheng felt a clear mind in his mind. There was originally a feeling of estrangement from this world. Now that this estrangement is gone, it feels incredibly compatible with this world. Ding! The host clears the residual obsession of the predecessor and fully integrates spiritual power. Yan Jiecheng was momentarily stunned when he heard the mechanical sound of Brother Guanzi. I opened the data panel here and saw that my data had changed. Host Yan Jiecheng. Strength 30, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, spiritual power 40, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, anger value is 1000. Mall gold coin 3793, power level D for supernatural powers. This driving force has risen to level D, Yan Jiecheng murmured. If you read the power level D, you can move something weighing 10 pounds within 10 meters. By the way, my motivation is within a 10-meter range. If I go to catch fish by the river, the fish within 10 meters can be stored in the storage space in one go. Use the fishing rod to cover it up, Yan Jiecheng said to himself, this way I can quickly get the money, and the money has a legitimate source. Yan Jiecheng wanted to get off the bed here. He wants to go out and buy a stove. Also, buy some coal. Otherwise, he won't be able to stay overnight tonight. In this era, the climate has not warmed, and on winter nights in the 4 or 9 cities, minus 20.30 degrees Celsius is very normal. And this place hasn't hit the heating yet. Yan Jiecheng came out of the house and wrapped himself tightly in a tattered cotton coat. Braved the cold wind and left the courtyard. We need to hurry up and buy coal from the furnace, otherwise it won't be fun waiting for the supply and marketing cooperative to finish work. The predecessor also had 9 yuan and 5 cents, as well as 2 industrial vouchers, 30 gene coal vouchers, and 20 gene grain vouchers. These legacies were hidden under the bloodsucking of Yan Bugui, who had worked part-time since junior high school. Zhonghai and Silly Zhu stood at the entrance of Silly Zhu's house, watching coldly from the copying corridor. Grandpa, you were too polite to him just now. You should teach him a lesson no matter what. Silly Zhu's old face was all ferocious. Don't worry, it wasn't because of you just now. If this kid wants to lift the table and I don't compromise, you'll have to go to jail. Zhonghai angrily said, you too, he just glanced at you. You knocked him unconscious with just one punch. If these two people scold him a few times, he won't let him succeed. When Yan Jiecheng passed by the front yard, Yan Bugui, who was the gatekeeper here, stared fiercely at him. He never expected Yan Jiecheng to have a caged chicken do the opposite. You wait for me, Yan Bugui whispered in his heart. A month has arrived. If you don't give me 500 yuan, you still have to listen to me obediently. That house must also be mine. Quickly, Yan Jiecheng returned carrying 30 kilograms of coal, a stove, and a kettle. As for the grain, it will wait until tomorrow. Anyway, he still has 98 one-pound meat buns in his storage space. Just as I found some firewood to ignite the coal stove, I heard sharp curses. Yan Jiecheng, you little beast, actually robbed my house. Hurry up and let me out, otherwise I won't be able to kill you little beast. Yan Jiecheng looked up and saw a plump and white Zhang, standing up like an old sow. She is staring fiercely at Yan Jiecheng. Zhang has a chubby face like a pig's head, with sparse and yellowish hair. Twisted into a bun at the back of the head. That hairline is so tall, the bald forehead is like a skinned duck egg. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Zhonghai, what are you? You are listening at novel full.audio. Yan Jiecheng threw down the firewood in his hand and jumped out. When Yan Jiecheng watched the birds fill the courtyard before soul-piercing. He has a kind of obsession, which is to draw a large sum of money from the Jia and Zhang families. Now seizing this opportunity, Yan Jiecheng jumped out. Raising his hand was like 2 large pouches, causing the fat on Jia Zhang's face to tremble. Pop. 2 slaps in the face, one in the opposite direction, caused the golden stars to appear in front of Jia Zhang's eyes. She never expected that Yan Jiecheng would dare to jump out and spank her. So I was stunned. Yan Jiecheng didn't use a lot of power, otherwise he would have pulled this old devout woman out of trouble. He will also suffer losses even if he uses reason. Oh, oh, oh. Yan Jie, you little beast, actually hit the old man. Zhang let out a howl. At this moment, Zhonghai and Lu Haizhong all ran out. Lu Haizhong is at the home of Zhonghai. Silly Zhu stood on the side, smiling as Yan Jiecheng and Zhang engaged in a fight. No matter who suffers, he is happy. Yan Jiecheng is so bold that he even hit an old man. Zhonghai's face turned red with anger, almost foaming and shouting loudly. Attacking the elderly is something that Zhonghai absolutely cannot tolerate. What else should we do when he gets old? Zhonghai has finally created a culture of respecting and loving the elderly in the courtyard house, which cannot be destroyed. Zhonghai, Master Yi, haven't you heard this make the old lady spew feces all over her mouth? Yan Jiecheng sneered and said, what's wrong with me hitting her? Give it back to the old man. Is this old lady 50 years old? Who else says you can't hit the old man? She sprayed feces all over her mouth, and I could even slap her in front of the police officer. You were beaten up with feces all over your mouth. In this era, there is no saying that you can punch tens of thousands. Zhonghai was stunned for a while before angrily saying, then you can hit the old man. She's your elder, what happened when she scolded her a few times? Zhonghai, Master Yi, if you want to recognize your elders, don't hold on to me, Yan Jiecheng said calmly. And if you like to be scolded, that's because you're cheap. I'm not being scolded. Yan Jiecheng's mouth and mouth were full of ease, which also made Zhonghai's aura strong enough. This is not admitting that he is an old man. My goodness. Lao Jia. Come up and take a look. Someone is bullying the orphan and widowed mother. Zhang sat down on the ground, patting her fat legs with both hands and starting to cry and summon souls. TSK, Jia Dongshu's children are all here. Are you still an orphan and widowed mother in your family? Yan Jiecheng said coldly, if you cry like this, be careful not to become an orphan and widowed mother again. You. Zhang didn't expect Yan Jiecheng's mouth to be so poisonous. Old Jia, hurry up and take this little beast. Take Yan Jiecheng away. Master Yi, this old devout woman is engaged in feudal superstition. Are you just watching like this? Why don't I go to the street and call Director Wang to come and take a look? Yan Jiecheng said indifferently. Zhang was so frightened that she quickly closed her mouth. If this is reported, she will have to suffer. No, I didn't say it before. The matter in the courtyard will be settled in the courtyard. Zhonghai blurted out and shouted. Settle it in the courtyard. Everything is at your mercy. Are you trying to become a king in the courtyard? Yan Jiecheng insisted on putting on his big hat. No, nothing. Zhonghai was so scared that he gave a negation to Sanlian. Yan Jiecheng, you have no leader in your eyes. The three of my leaders must take care of you. Lu Hai snorted angrily, just now, you were proud of that. Because you had concerns. Now I want to. What do you want? Are you still a leader? You're just a volunteer mediator, you don't have any power at all. There are more sons and daughters of the Yongding River than you. Yan Jiecheng said with a small mouth, just like Kai Guang. You go aside for me. Zhonghai took a deep breath, if it weren't for Yan Bugui's side. He had already given a glance and asked Silly Zhu to come up and clean up Yan Jiecheng. It's not a big deal to call the police in this situation. Silly Zhu also had his own thoughts, and when he saw Zhonghai's expression, he didn't take immediate action. But looking at the bangs. Silly Zhu and Lu Haizhong were at odds, but when he saw Yan Jiecheng fiercely attacking Lu Haizhong. I feel really comfortable in my heart. Yan Jiecheng spoke out his foolish thoughts. Silly pillar. Zhonghai had no choice but to shout out. Yan Jiecheng is now proud in his heart. The sound of anger level +10 in the mind doesn't keep up. This is a daifengshu, salad of assorted fresh vegetables, for him. What happened? Grandma, why are you sitting on the ground? With a seductive voice, a woman rushed to Jiecheng's side to help her up. This woman looks like she's in her 20s and 60s. On a white and tender face, those fox-like eyes looked like they were hooked. First, there was a blush on this face and a strong spring vibe in the eyes. Even the big cotton jacket cannot conceal the grandeur of her chest. But in the eyes of Yan Jiecheng, the soul of this later generation, that thing was somewhat drooping. Under the advanced information of later generations, looking at this pair of things is simply too ordinary. But silly Zhu's eyes were straight, thinking that his Qin sister was so beautiful today. Qin Huairu, you fox spirit, what did you do? I didn't see my mother and I was beaten. Jiecheng raised her hand and slapped Qin Huairu. This slap hit Qin Huairu's hand, causing her to grit her teeth. Watching Qin Huairu's expression, silly Zhu twitched with heartache. Mom, why are you hitting Huairu again? A man walked over with a helpless and dissatisfied expression on his face. Dongshu, I was beaten. Jiecheng screamed. Yan Jiecheng woke up from the sound of +10 broadcasts. Looking at Jia Dongshu, who only has one photo in the TV drama. He looks really good, with a handsome appearance. My face is a bit blue, and my eyes are all black. This can also be understood, there is nothing so delicious right now. And my wife is also a juicer. Even a man can't resist it. Silly Zhu also woke up and watched Qin Huairu shed tears. He felt that Yan Jiecheng was the main culprit behind all of this. Coincidentally, I am now seeking help from Yan and avenging myself for being blackmailed. Yan Jiecheng, you little brat, actually hit the old man. Then I won't even teach you a lesson. Silly Zhu glared at Yan Jiecheng and raised his hand to punch him on the shoulder. In the morning, smashing Yan's head and causing trouble taught foolish Zhu a lesson. I'm afraid that if I don't pay attention, I'll kill Yan Jiecheng. Zhonghai's gaze was gloomy, and he beat Yan Jiecheng up in his heart. Let this little brat know how powerful he is. I have plenty of time and opportunities in the future, teach this Yan Jiecheng a lesson. Let him know how to respect the elderly and accept his leadership from Zhonghai well. In everyone's eyes, Yan Jiecheng couldn't escape this phone call. Silly Zhu's actions were severe in Yan Jiecheng. Then slowly, like a snail, Yan Jie sat on a horse with a heavy waist. The most basic movement in the 8 extremes fist is to push and pound. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Silly pillar, you are just a little pock AE. You are listening at novel full.audio. With this punch, he hit Silly Zhu's stomach straight and straight. Silly Zhu opened his mouth wide and took a few steps back with excitement. In a hurry, he knelt on the ground holding his stomach like a sheep. But strangely, Silly Zhu didn't even let out a scream. Yan Jiecheng is holding back his strength, otherwise this punch could have pierced through the belly of Silly Pillar. Zhonghai originally wanted to see Yan Jiecheng beaten up by Silly Zhu, but he didn't expect Silly Zhu to kneel on the ground. Silly Pillar. Do you think you're very capable? As a horse rider, I wasn't on guard this morning. I didn't expect that just one glance at you would make you hurt your hands. Yan Jiecheng said sternly. Now I'll teach you a lesson, don't think you're the boss or the second in the future. You're just a little brat. Of course, the people in the yard don't know what Xiaopi Kai means. Yan Jiecheng was overjoyed in his heart, and now the sound of anger reaching his account echoed in his mind. At this moment, Zhonghai woke up from his surprise and said, Yan Jiecheng, you actually hit someone. I'll go report it to the police. TSK, Zhonghai, what a fresh thing you're saying. It seems strange to hit people. There aren't many people who foolishly hit in the courtyard yet. I was just in self-defense. Yan Jiecheng pursed his lips and said. Are you still reporting to the police? Go ahead. By the way, everyone listen, what Zhonghai said about the courtyard matter being settled in the courtyard is bullshit. Zhonghai's head exploded and his scalp went numb. This. Zhonghai couldn't say a complete sentence in a state of urgency. What's this? You're just a hypocrite. Yan Jie raised the corner of his mouth. At this moment, Yan Jiecheng secretly said in his heart, "System, turn off the sound of the broadcast. It's too noisy." The sound of increasing anger by 10 and 10 disappeared. Zhang has already rolled back to his home like a ball over there. She knows there's no advantage here, maybe she'll have to suffer. Jia Dongshu and Qin Huiru looked embarrassed. Zhonghai paired up with Yan Jie for their family. Zhang ran away, it's too unfair. Zhonghai stared at Yan Jiecheng with wide eyes. He could never have imagined that the cowardly Yan Jiecheng would become like this. In public, it was directly pointed out that Zhonghai was a hypocrite. I step on a horse. Silly Zhu stood up from the ground, but still covered his stomach and bent over. How are you doing with the pillar? Dongshu, come over and help me lift the pillar back. Zhonghai helped silly pillar. Zhonghai cup o, Yan Jiecheng felt dizzy with a few axes, and now he can only find an excuse to temporarily avoid Yan Jiecheng's sharpness. Jia Dongshu was even more afraid to explode and stab. He didn't see that the four-courtyard god of war, silly pillar, had been beaten to death. There were big men with open mouths watching the excitement around, and they didn't expect Yan Jiecheng to become so powerful. Oh my goodness! A group of beasts. Yan Jiecheng let out a sigh and returned to the room to prepare for sleep. The coal stove has been lit, but look at those 8 leaking houses. Yan Jiecheng did not consider the issue of gas poisoning. Stepping on a horse, this won't work. Yan Jiecheng murmured, we still need to spend money. Yan Jiecheng bought a Zhimengxi mattress and 3 new blankets in the residential mall. Zhimengxi threw it on the ground and covered 2 beds with a blanket. Throwing these into his personal space, Yan Jiecheng also bought 2 pairs of underwear. And there are sweaters and pants. I'm just heading towards the bathhouse. After taking a shower, I lost my worn-out underwear and cotton pants. There are a pair of suede shoes on the feet. I didn't dare to get a new coat, otherwise I wouldn't be able to explain the correct way. Lying under the bed, Yan Jie breathed a sigh of relief and ate 3 meat buns at night. That's called a comfort. The cotton quilt, Zhimengxi, and clothes only cost over 2,000 yuan. We've run out of gold coins. No, we need to find a way to make money. By the way, there are watches in the mall. Yan Jiecheng became excited. Why do automatic watches priced at 50 or 60 yuan cost more than 100 yuan in this era? Industrial products from later generations are not valuable. Those labeled in foreign languages are actually produced by small domestic manufacturers, which looks very good. I made money with this watch, but I still can't figure out where it came from. Yan Jiecheng lay under the bed, using his divine sense to browse through the products on the screen. Oh, this is the bait and bait for fishing, don't scatter it. This is a product from later generations. Brother Guanzi, you come out, you're not saying it's beyond this era. Yan Jiecheng seemed to have found a loophole. Host, please note that the bait and nest feed are all grains and distiller's grains, said Tong Zijie in a mechanical voice. There's not much technological content. It's like making food. Well, what you said makes sense, Yan Jiecheng yawned. Yan Jiecheng slept in the bed. But with a moment of motivation, the candle on the table went out. The next morning, after Yan Jiecheng got up, he tidied up and threw Zhimengxi's blankets and other items into the storage space. There are only worn-out bedding on the wooden boards here. After washing up, Yan Jiecheng wobbled out of the courtyard. A posture that I don't recognize anyone. It's not like dealing with those beasts at all. As we walked out of the courtyard gate, we saw Yan Bugui pushing his old, broken-down bicycle, ready to go fishing. Now that the school is on vacation, tomorrow is the day of sacrificial offerings. After seeing Yan Jiecheng, Yan Bugui gave him a fierce glare. Yan Jiecheng walked to Zhonghai, which had long been frozen. At this moment, Yan Jiecheng was holding a fishing rod and an iron bucket. There is still an axe in the bucket. How unlucky. Meeting these two people. Yan Jiecheng secretly said in his heart. Yan Bugui and Siheyuan, surprisingly, are also fishing in this nearby area. They have already dug out the ice cave, holding fishing rods and shrinking their necks to watch the float. Yan Jiecheng chopped out an ice cave while secretly thinking, as long as there is fish, I can get it up. Yan Jiecheng is ready to cheat. He has the ability to pick 10 meters and move things weighing 10 pounds. And his mental strength can see up to 5 meters deep under clear water. Quickly cut out a 1-meter square ice hole. Yan Jiecheng stirred the nest material in the bucket. Throw the person into 2 large groups. You don't need bait or anything else. Use this nest of bait to make a look. Anyway, Yan Jiecheng is ready to cheat. Yan Jiecheng is able to see underwater 5 meters clearly, very clearly. Even a blurry feeling can be felt 10 meters underwater, but the size of the fish and its head and tail can be distinguished. With a moment of motivation, the fishing hook shot itself into the fish's mouth. Then he didn't fish, he just pulled it up. In fact, Yan Jiecheng used the driving force to drag it up. Of course, the fishing hook also bears a portion of the weight. A big-headed fish, about 2 feet long and weighing over 10 pounds, bounced a few times on the ice surface. He stopped moving and was frozen stiff in no time. Yan Jiecheng dragged big fish up one after another. Thanks to the superior materials of the times. Attracting all the big fish. When Yan Jiecheng caught the third big fish, he realized that there were many people around him watching the excitement. Yan Bugui and Siheyuan also ran over. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Bribery of Huaide. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yan Jiecheng, this is you, this is. Siheyuan was so surprised that he couldn't speak. Yan Bugui looked at the several big fish on the ground and saw that the big carp that Yan Jiecheng had just picked up weighed 20 pounds. His eyes are congested. Ah! Yan Jiecheng, you're quite cunning. When we went fishing together before, you just caught a little catfish or something like that. Yan Bugui shouted, so you've hidden your fishing skills and just wanted to separate from me. No, I won't agree. These are all mine. Yan Bugui straightened his neck and shouted. Yan Bugui, did I give you face? If you still don't agree, then sue me. If you receive it from the police station, you can do whatever you want. Yan Jiecheng gave Yan Bugui a cold look. Yan Jiecheng has no good impression of Yan Bugui. As for father and son, it is a matter of their predecessors and has nothing to do with his soul, which has traveled through later generations. Although this body is related to the Yan family, it carries the debt of its predecessor. That would be very conscientious. As soon as this horse crossed over, it owed Yan Bugui 500 yuan in debt. After he retires, he will have to give 5 yuan in retirement money a month. Yan Jiecheng knows that Yan Bugui's monthly salary is over 47 yuan. It can completely make the whole family eat, drink and enjoy, but unfortunately it is very stingy. Say it's 27 yuan and 5 yuan per month. The pickled vegetables should be divided by roots. You. Rebellious and unfilial. Yan Bugui cheek trembled straight. But I also remembered that I had no choice but to use Yan Jiecheng. Don't say that the agreement was signed, it's just not there. Yan Jiecheng is already an adult. Without relying on him for anything, Yan Bugui really can't control Yan Jiecheng. Yan Jiecheng ignored Yan Bugui and focused solely on fishing. No matter how much sensation one's misbehavior can cause. Until the frozen nest material in the bucket is used up. In the blink of an eye, I saw 30 or 40 people surrounding me. The piles of fish on the ground are very eye-catching. These big fish weigh almost 20 pounds, and the small ones weigh up to 3 pounds. Most of them weigh around 10 pounds. Young man, I need to exchange for 2 fish. These larger ones. I'll switch to 3. I'll take 5. The onlookers became lively. Yan Jiecheng felt a bit dizzy when he was about to speak when someone started shouting outside. Young man, I'll take all these fish. This is a middle-aged man in his 40s, and his face looks quite handsome. It's just a hint of sinister aura in my eyes. And with that outfit, you can tell at a glance whether you're rich or wealthy. Directorly, why are you here? You don't need these 3 melons and 2 dates either. Silly Zhu said. But his mouth still stinks as usual. Silly pillar, please be honest with me. What time is it? Aren't you going to work yet? Li Huaide frowned. Hee, I'm taking a day off today. Stupid Zhu said proudly, I'm not in the factory, you can't control me. The anglers around looked at silly Zhu with silly eyes. You. Get out of here. Li Huaide approached and said, young man, are these what you caught? Yeah, it hasn't been 2 hours yet. Yan Jiecheng's heart trembled as he said, the fish here seem to have gone crazy and hooked on my fishing hook. Well, I'm Li Huaide from the Red Star Rolling Mill. I'll take all of your fish. Look, said Li Huaide. As the new year approaches, there will be more welcoming and sending. It's not easy to get some food during a major disaster now. Fishing is allowed in Zhonghai, but casting a net is not allowed. Otherwise, there wouldn't be much fish left here. Okay. But how can we handle these? Yan Jiecheng hesitated for a moment. This matter is easy to handle, Li Huaide passed by in a truck. Just put the fish on. We went to the steel rolling mill with Yan Jiecheng. As soon as Yan Jiecheng left, Yan Bugui's fishing rod had already occupied the hole left by Yan Jiecheng. Oh, why did you take it? A fisherman asked unwillingly. How did I take it? That kid is my eldest son, Yan Bugui said confidently, why did you say I took it? We 2 fish at the entrance of the pillar. Yan Bugui had great vision until he couldn't occupy this fishing hole alone. In the blink of an eye, he pulled the silly pillar over. Okay. Silly Zhu sat down with his pony in hand. Your name is Yan Jiecheng. Li Huaide asked, your fishing skills are good. Hee, it's still possible. I performed exceptionally well today. Otherwise, 50 or 60 pounds would be the norm. Yan Jiecheng was not polite at all. He wants to get a job from Li Huaide. Well, how about you come to our steel rolling plant's procurement department? Li Huaide's eyes changed and he said, the apprenticeship period is 3 months. If you can complete the task, then you can become a full-time employee. If you weigh 50 or 60 pounds of fish a day, you can complete a month's task in a week. If you agree, I'll let you join later. By the way, today's fish can't be considered a task. No problem, Yan Jiecheng smiled. Thank you very much, Director Li. In this era, no matter how rich you are. That also requires a serious job. Young man, work hard and try to get more fish during this time at the end of the year, Li Huaide nodded. Just fish. Yan Jiecheng wanted to make his position more important. Can you get anything else? Li Huaide became interested. I know how to order both fishing and hunting, Yan Jiecheng said. I think I'll go to the mountains tomorrow to get some meat. It's not easy, our steel rolling mill security department hasn't even managed to get anything in the mountains. We've been beaten to extinction for a long time. Huaide shook his head in disappointment and said, you should go fishing. Hunting is not just about having many people. It's not suitable to have guns. If that's the case, not everyone will become hunters. Yan Jiecheng said proudly, I'll prepare today and go into the mountains tomorrow. After entering the steel rolling mill, the fish were collected at a rate of 50 cents per kilogram. Over 420 pounds, Yan Jiecheng asked for 210 yuan. Under the leadership of Director Li's secretary, Xiao Wang, Yan Jiecheng quickly completed the onboarding procedures. The reason why it's so fast is still because of household registration, graduation certificate, etc., which Yan Jie kept in his personal space. Just take it out of your coat pocket now. After completing the task, Yan Jiecheng returned to Li Huaide's office. What else do you have? Asked Li Huaide. Director Li, I have a watch here that you only deserve. Yan Jiecheng took out a box from his pocket. Watch. I have it. Li Huaide glanced at the watch on his wrist and said, Hee, this is a plum blossom watch. Although it's second-hand, it's also nest. What kind of watch are you? Yan Jiecheng opened the small box, and the watch inside made Li Huaide curse uncontrollably. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. With full confidence, go hunting, seeking flowers, seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yan Jiecheng just bought a watch in the system mall. Still the kind of watch with 3 eyes, 6 needles, and a dual calendar. Although it was a counterfeit produced by a small factory, it also cost Yan Jie 200 yuan. Watching his gold coins decreasing in the mall, Yan Jiecheng felt heartbroken and pulled at them. But this money cannot be spared. This is the reward I received after rescuing someone in the water. But I don't deserve to wear such a watch, so. Director Li, let me exchange it with you. Yan Jiecheng's eyes turned and he said. No, could you give me this plum blossom watch? Li Huaide immediately understood Yan Jiecheng's meaning, but still asked cautiously, Jiecheng, can you tell me about the functions of this watch? This is a fully automatic watch that doesn't need to be turned up. Just wear it every day, and the second hand is this small. This. Yan Jiecheng explained, actually, this watch should be called a 3-eyed 6-needle code watch. It seems to be from the same country as a plum blossom watch. Look, this is a watch adjuster that can adjust the length of the strap. TSK, this is the most advanced butterfly buckle. This elastic steel strap is like an old hat in front of this strap. Yan Jiecheng adjusted the watch strap while speaking. Li Huaide eagerly put it on his wrist. Yan Jiecheng calmly put the plum blossom watch on his wrist. This thing is 90% new, and if left for future generations, it will cost several 100,000 yuan no matter what. Not bad, I think you're pretty good. Li Huaide smiled and couldn't see his eyes. I'm very optimistic about you. What other requirements do you have? Li Huaide has this advantage. If he collects your money, he will really handle the matter for you. He has much more moral character than those useless bastards who collect money and don't do anything in later generations. I don't actually need to. Yan Jiecheng said. I'll handle it for you right away. You're now an official purchaser. It's 30.2.5 yuan a month, Li Huaide nodded immediately. I am a formal employee, can you share the house with me? There are 2 vacant rooms in our courtyard, middle courtyard, and west wing, said Yan Jiecheng. Xiao Wang, come in and take Jiecheng to handle these 2 things. Li Huaide said in a raised voice. There's one more thing. Yan Jiecheng hurriedly said. Jiecheng, you have a lot of requirements, Li Huaide frowned. This means that the popularity of watches is not as great. Director Li is like this. I'm going hunting. I need to prepare this equipment myself. Yan Jiecheng hurriedly said, can you coordinate with the forging workshop and I'll make a steel arm bow. Also, I saw a motorcycle shoulder bag over there. Can I borrow this one for a while? I'll set off later and I'll probably be back at this time tomorrow. Okay. Young man, you have a great enthusiasm for work. Huaide smiled and said, so what, Xiao Wang, take him to do 3 things. Xiao Wang took Yan Jiecheng to become a full-time employee and obtained the key to the West Wing room from the Housing Management Department. That house is under the name of Yan Jiecheng. I had lunch in the cafeteria. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Secretary Xiao Wang brought Yan Jiecheng to the forging workshop. Wang, let's find Lu Haizhong. His forging skills are quite good. Yan Jiecheng's eyes turned around. Okay, Xiaoyan. If you can get something good this time, I'll personally pay for it. Secretary Xiao Wang hesitated and whispered. Don't worry, Brother Wang. I will definitely bring back a few wild chickens and rabbits for you, Yan Jiecheng assured with confidence. If you really can't get anything, then you'll lose money and buy good chickens and rabbits from the mall. Xiao Yan, you are very good. Secretary Xiao Wang was very happy. Oh, Yan Jiecheng, how did you come to our factory? Ah, hello Secretary Wang. When Lu Haizhong saw Yan Jiecheng, he wanted to shake his second uncle's authority. But in the blink of an eye, I saw Secretary Xiao Wang, and he turned into a fat dog wagging its tail. I'm looking for you to make something. This is an order from Director Li. As for what to make, you'll listen to the Yan purchaser. Secretary Wang said sternly. Lu Haizhong quickly put in his best effort to complete the task. The director of the forging workshop, Lao Duan, walked over. Seeing the proud Yan Jiecheng in the bangs made me feel angry. But we could only honestly follow Yan Jiecheng's instructions and find some soft steel to come over. I was surprised at the center of the bangs while working. Why did Yan Jiecheng become a purchaser at the steel rolling mill in the blink of an eye? The character of Lu Haizhong is very questionable, but you have to say that his skills are very good. With the assistance of 2 disciples, in less than an hour, Yan Jiecheng was driven out with an air hammer to get what he wanted. A steel arm curved bow, the whole one was just shot, but it's a bit thin and difficult to grasp. The bowstring is twisted together with thin steel wires. There is also a pig-killing knife and an axe. More than 40 triangular arrows have been made, and there is also a slingshot rack. The belt used for slingshot is twisted together with the zip ties from the clinic. Adding a wooden arrow stand in the middle of the steel bow in the woodworking room makes it easy to grasp. Arrow rods are also made by carpenters. Arrow feather uses plastic sheets, which are difficult to find. Fortunately, the urgent steel rolling mill can still be found. After everything was ready, it was already over 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Can you ride a motorcycle? Li Huaide asked as he looked at Yan Jiecheng busily. Yes, I did. When I was in high school, the principal had a motorcycle, Yan Jiecheng said. I can ride it secretly. I'll do it in a few seconds. Yan Jiecheng has really ridden the principal's bike, but his predecessor was so foolish. How could it be possible to learn that? Yan Jiecheng rode his motorcycle and rushed out of the steel rolling mill, heading directly towards Wuling Mountain in the Yanshan Mountains. Wuling Mountain is over 80 kilometers away from 49 cities. Yan Jiecheng needs to run for over 2 hours. In the courtyard, Yan Bugui and Sili Zhu both looked tired. Sitting together in the front yard here. The 2 of them returned to the courtyard and sat down to rest before speaking. After Yan Jiecheng left, the 2 of them have been fishing there until now. But what puzzled the 2 of them was where Yan Jiecheng could catch big fish. They can't do it anymore. The 2 of them have only a few small catfish so far. Make them both so angry that they want to vomit blood. Zhonghai and Jia Dongshu have returned. Talking to Yan Bugui's silly pillar. Within 2 minutes, Lu Haizhong rushed in. Old Yan, do you know that? Lu Haizhong stared at Yan Bugui with a bull's eye. What do I know? Yan Bugui looked puzzled. Your family's Yan Jiecheng has become a purchaser at the steel rolling mill. I've already inquired about it. His monthly salary is 32.5 yuan, which is 5 yuan more than yours. By the way, he also caught a lot of fish and sold it for 210 yuan. Lu Hai said. I. Yan Bugui felt something blocking his heart. TSK, third master, do you still say you know how to calculate? How about that? You haven't calculated Yan Jiecheng, have you? Silly Zhu hesitated for a moment and said with a foul mouth, TSK, he keeps holding back. He leaves as soon as he reaches adulthood. That's when he shows his ability. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. What opens and hangs is different, seeking flowers, seeking. You are listening at novel full.audio. Yan Bugui's heart was as painful as a knife's cut. Yan Bugui feels like he has lost 1 billion. Why did Yan Jiecheng run away? It's like raising a chicken. I've been raised since I was young, and now I'm about to lay eggs. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, the chicken flew away? In fact, raising children in Yan Bugui is no different from raising chickens. By the way, it seems like the house was also divided. As for where it was divided, I don't know, Lu Haizhong said. Definitely not in this courtyard anymore. Yan Bugui took a deep breath. Lu Haizhong, Zhonghai, and Silly Zhu both nodded. Yan Jiecheng will definitely stay away from here. Zhonghai breathed a sigh of relief, missing one person who was against him. Although he is not afraid of Yan Jiecheng causing trouble, it is still troublesome. When Yan Jiecheng drove to the foot of Wuling Mountain, it was 5:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Throw the motorcycle into the storage space. On this side, there is a pig-killing knife and axe hanging from the waist, carrying a bow and arrow. Yan Jiecheng held a slingshot and a stone in his hand. Yan Jiecheng wore an armed belt around his waist. This is still obtained from the security department. There is basically nothing on the outskirts of these mountains near the village. Everything that can be eaten and used has been swept away by the villagers. This is January 1960, in the middle of a 3-year disaster. Yan Jiecheng quickly climbed over several small hills and entered the depths of the Yanshan Mountains. In this era, there are both tigers and bears here. Don't talk about wild boars. But when a large number of people entered, the wild beasts hid. Moreover, even if we hunt some wild animals, deploying so many manpower would not be worth the loss. If there are fewer people, the danger is greater. Only old hunters can enter the deep mountains. Yan Jiecheng has a cheat, so of course he doesn't care. Originally, Li Huaide wanted him to bring a gun into the mountain. But if he wants to say that his marksmanship is very good, there is no place to say the source. As for bows and arrows, it's easy to find a source. Yan Jiecheng was very careful not to be pulled as an enemy spy to slice. As the sky darkened, Yan Jiecheng found a cave. It looks like it's 3 meters high from the ground. Taking out a stool from the storage space, Yan Jiecheng started eating meat buns. I can't rest tonight, Yan Jiecheng whispered in his heart, there is a moon in the sky, and I have the psychic power to scan around. So let's move overnight. After eating 2 steamed buns and some hot water, Yan Jie decided to take action. When I went out this morning, I boiled a pot of water. Placed the pot in the storage space. Now it's the same as what was just put in. Yan Jiecheng searched all the way, not to mention finding many wild chickens and rabbits. The mountain chicken is in the nest, blocked by him and stored one by one in the storage space. The wild rabbit was in the hole and was pulled out by Yan Jiecheng using his mental power before being thrown into the storage space. Wild goats. Yan Jiecheng saw a group of wild goats with 5 heads lying on the grass to rest. Yan Jiecheng took out 5 arrows and inserted 4 into the ground. One has already been strung onto the bow. Yan Jiecheng was a weightlifter before soul-piercing, so his physique goes without saying. I fell in love with a young archer who often goes to learn archery to become a licking dog. Who knew the little girl didn't lick it, but he learned archery very well. The reason why he didn't lick it was not because he was only 1.65 meters tall. The whole person looks square, the archer girl is 1.7 meters tall, and her figure is making people drool. Now Yan Jiecheng, who was drawing a bow and arrows, sighed. The little girl didn't catch up, and learning a skill was also good. Swish, swish. Yan Jiecheng shot 5 arrows at lightning speed. Yan Jie's cost and technical skills are good. The coaches of the archery team say he can go to play games now. Now there is also mental power assistance, combined with strong physical and mental strength. 5 arrows were shot, and it took only 1 breath. Yan Jiecheng, who shook his hand, had a smile on his face with everything in control. The 5 wild goats, 20 meters away, fell to the ground and stopped moving with just one movement of their limbs. These 5 arrows are all aimed straight at the head of the wild goat. If you insert it, it looks like 10 centimeters, and the brain tissue has already become a paste. 3 larger wild goats weigh over 50 pounds, and 2 smaller ones weigh over 30 pounds. I just can't get the wild boar. Even with these 5 wild goats, I can still make a living. Yan Jiefeng secretly said in his heart. The meat of wild goats is much more delicious than that of domesticated goats. This is not something that wild boars can compare to. The arrow has not deformed at all when pulled out. Yan Jiecheng was thrown into the storage space with the goat. Continue to explore deep into the mountains. Yan Jiecheng has strong mental strength and has decided not to sleep tonight. Go back at dawn. At around 3 a.m., Yan Jiecheng found a litter of wild boars. 2 big wild boars and 3 little wild boars weighing over 30 pounds. Also solved by Yan Jie with 5 arrows. After being stored in the storage space, I hurriedly headed back. As he went back, Yan Jiecheng controlled the power of space. Blood the wild boar and goat. The blood of the wild boar was thrown into the mountains, while the blood of the goat was placed in space. Cut down some dead trees and throw them into storage space all the way out. When we arrived at the foot of the mountain, it was already 6 o'clock in the early morning of the next day. Looking around without anyone, Yan Jiecheng threw out his motorcycle shoulder bag. After launching, he rushed towards the city. When you're going to the city, find a place for everyone. 2 big wild boars were lost on the shoulder of the motorcycle, one weighing 200 pounds. There are also 2 little wild boars on top. There are some pheasants and rabbits stuffed in the gaps. 2 wild goats and 2 small ones were placed on the back seat of the motorcycle. I tied it with a rope. Suddenly, the motorcycle's body emitted black smoke, with a speed similar to that of an ox cart. Fortunately, this place is very close to the steel rolling mill. When we arrived at the entrance of the steel rolling mill, there were many people following behind. In this era, seeing so much meat, not grabbing it means having quality. Many of them are purchasers from various factories. I am Yan Jiecheng, the purchaser in the factory. Hurry up and help me get in. Yan Jiecheng shouted at the entrance guard from a long distance. In this era, the guards at the entrance are all live ammunition veterans. Upon hearing Yan Jiecheng's shout, 3 or 4 guards carrying guns ran out. Oh, you can do it. I went out and got so much meat. A group leader swallowed a mouthful of the waterway. Hurry up and deliver it to the warehouse. With so many eyes watching, Yan Jiecheng said urgently. The car ran out of gas, otherwise Yan Jiecheng wouldn't have called out. When we arrived at the door of the kitchen small warehouse, Huaide was already waiting here. Huaide saw so many things on the car, especially those wild goats. He can't fit in anymore. Hurry up. Hurry up. Weigh it, Huaide said. Let someone from the kitchen clean it up and deliver it to the warehouse. Director Wang, you can't make any mistakes while watching here. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Yan Jiecheng, who knows how to be a good person. You are listening at novel full.audio. After weighing, the wild boar weighed 500 pounds. A goat weighs 150 pounds. Solve it, how about a wild boar weighing 7 cents per kilogram? Huaide said, a goat costs 1 yuan and 5 cents. Wild chickens and rabbits cost 8 cents. The price given. That's high enough, the price you gave is high enough. Yan Jiecheng hurriedly said, wild chickens and rabbits are not included. I gave it to you. 10 wild chickens and 6 wild rabbits are considered gifts for Huaide. Pork costs 71 catty now, but that's a domestic pig. The type that is raised very fat requires meat tickets. It can be sold for 2 yuan per kilogram on the black market now, of course, without tickets. Wild boar meat has a pungent taste, and compared to domestic pigs, the fat is much less. Both pigs and sheep have gross weight. The factory can only provide this kind of money, Huaide smiled and said, hurry up and collect the money. By the way, as a purchaser, I have a bicycle. Xiao Wang will pick it up for you later. You can also rest for 2 days. You have completed the task. But you can. You understand. It's going to be Chinese New Year, and all kinds of needs. I understand, I will take a day off tomorrow. I will go out to fish the day after tomorrow and deliver it to your house. I guarantee there will be around 10 fish weighing 10 pounds. Yan Jiecheng immediately understood. It's just not possible before entering the mountains. Yeah, you can't risk your life just for work, Huaide said hastily. He thought Yan Jiecheng had suffered a lot when he entered the mountain. This is not enough to give Yan Jie a bunch of various receipts. But this harvest is finally good. I have to entertain some people myself, so I finally have the ingredients. Especially wild goat meat, which used to be difficult to buy. Yan Jifeng took 575 yuan. Follow Secretary Wang here to collect the bicycle. It's still a 90% new permanent 28 bar. Wang Gu has promised you this. Yan Jifeng took out 2 wild chickens and a wild rabbit from his canvas bag. Thank you for understanding, I'll give you the money now. Secretary Wang said joyfully. Brother Wang, you're not taking my brother. You're cursing me, Yan Jifeng shook his head and said, if you want to give me money, then give me back the wild chicken and rabbit. Well. Secretary Wang was deeply moved. Then I won't say anything else. I have a pound of big white rabbit milk candy here, take it, don't say anything else, Secretary Wang said with a serious expression. Okay, I'm not polite. Who are we brothers with? Yan Jiecheng said arrogantly, I'll go get the fish the day after tomorrow, and it's still in Zhonghai. I'll go over in the morning. Bring 10 to Director Li's house. I'll also prepare some for you then. Yan Jiecheng rode his bike slowly back. However, when it comes to the courtyard, leave the dead trees in the storage space on the open ground. Of course, there is no place for anyone. Tie a little wild boar and a little wild goat in the space to the back seat of the bicycle. I just found a nest neck to pull the cart and placed 5 or 6 withered trees on the cart. Pulled it to the courtyard. These withered trees are turned into firewood, which is enough to burn until the Chinese New Year. Yan Jiecheng pushed his cart into the front courtyard of the courtyard, and it was already past 11 o'clock in the morning. Yan Bugui is serving as the gatekeeper at the entrance. Yan Bugui saw Yan Jiecheng's bicycle at a glance. Yan Jiecheng, was your car equipped as a purchaser? Yan Bugui immediately thought of it, but immediately saw the wild boar and wild goat on the rear frame. Where did you come from? Has it anything to do with you? Yan Jiecheng snorted coldly. You. I'm your old man. Yan Bu's noble face turned pale. Yeah, that's right. How could you do this? It's not easy for your father and I to raise you all, Yang Yuhua said, wiping away her tears. Yan Jiefang, Yan Jiekuang, and Yan Jie have both come out. Yan Jie is only 7 years old, just like a skinny little cat. Cut, it's not easy to raise me. In Yan Bugui's heart, raising children and daughters is an investment that needs to be repaid. I'll pay back now. Since it's a business, don't talk about emotions. Yan Jiecheng snorted coldly. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll give you 500 yuan. Yan Jiecheng said that he entered the courtyard with his collar on. Although the system's broadcast sound has been turned off. But Yan Jiecheng looked at Yan Bugui and Yang Yuhua as they were on fire. I know that anger will definitely continue to increase. We still can't leave this courtyard. Otherwise, where will this anger go? Yan Jiecheng whispered to himself. The 2 west wing rooms that Yan Jiecheng went to, along with an ear room on the northern hill, and further north was the ear room that Yan Jiecheng had obtained from the silly pillar. To the south of these 2 wing rooms is a house belonging to the Jia family. Their family of 5 all live inside. There is also an ear room to the south, but this is another old man's house. Put the wood here. Yan Jiecheng gave a command. The empty space between the 2 earlobes can be said to have been cleared by Yan Jiecheng. Yan Jiecheng opened the west wing, which had only 1 door. Entering is a living room, where the 8 immortals' table and chairs are quite complete. Entering another room through a small door is a bedroom. There are many wardrobes and cabinets inside. Although they are all old furniture, they are all made of solid wood in this era. There is a heated Kong in the bedroom, and Yan Jiecheng is satisfied with it. There is also a small door here that allows you to enter the ear room that serves as the kitchen. This ear room has a size of 15 or 16 square meters and is divided in half. A kitchen and a bathroom. There is a door facing east in the ear room. This house has just been empty for half a month, and there is almost no dust inside. Yan Jiecheng quickly cleaned it up. Use some branches or something, first burn the Kong. This is a house where an engineer lives, otherwise it wouldn't be so particular. Wanek has already taken the money and left. Yan Jiecheng peeled pig skin and sheep skin with a small knife at the door. Yan Jiecheng, who had breakfast after 9 o'clock in the morning, is not hungry yet. Yan Jiecheng nailed a nail to the tree at the door and hung the little wild goat on it. I quickly peeled off the sheepskin with a small knife. Then he opened his mouth and pierced his belly, followed by the little wild boar. At this time, there were many women who didn't work around, as well as children who stayed at home during winter vacation. Watching so much meat, no matter how big or small it is, watching the excitement. Each eye turned red. These people were only focused on watching the meat and didn't care about how to open the doors of the 2 western rooms. Yan Jiecheng, where did you get so much meat? Our family is so poor. You give me half of it. You want both lamb and pork. Zhang pushed aside the onlookers and stood in front of Yan Jiecheng. Get out of here. Yan Jiecheng said rudely, do you still have pig manure and sheep manure? You. My goodness, Lao Jia, come and take a look without you. Zhang's words conflicted and he began to summon his soul. Qin Huairu also came to the front with her stick and small dang. They went out to buy New Year's goods and didn't expect to see Yan Jiecheng with so much meat when they came back. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Jia Zhang's Demon Making. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At first glance, Jia Zhang naturally wanted to take advantage. Qinhuairu also looked envious. They went out today to buy New Year's goods. Don't say anything about queuing up, I just bought 2 pounds of eggs, 1 pound of preserved meat, and 2 pounds of pork belly. These things speak very well. But as soon as she thought of the huge mouth of Jia Zhang's abyss, Qinhuairu shook her head in her heart. These things can be made by Jia Zhang alone for 2 meals. Don't blame my mother.in.law even if it's you. Qinhuairu said softly and weakly, our family has a lot of people, but we don't issue enough meat tickets. You have so much meat alone. How about giving our family some? I don't want it for nothing. In the future, I'll clean your house and do laundry. Get out of here. Yan Jiecheng sneered, you think I'm a fool. I asked you to tidy up the house and wash clothes. Do I still want to marry a wife in the future? If you continue to use the ghost number and ghost cry, I will sue you on the street for practicing feudal superstition. Jia Zhang's mouth was wide open and he couldn't make a sound. I just remembered that if it were taken by the street, it would have cost her half of her life. Yan Jiecheng didn't pay attention to the Jia family, but turned to an old woman in her 60s and said, Grandma Wang, please clean up these internal organs and pig and sheep heads. I need my heart, stomach, and small intestine. I've given you everything else. Upon hearing this, Grandma Wang hurriedly said, okay. Don't worry, I will definitely clean up everything. Yan Jiecheng nodded and Yang Yuhua called out from here, Yan Jiecheng, you are such a picky eater. Let me tidy up these things. Yan Bu's noble face turned pale with iron, and the veins around his neck erupted. The couple came over and thought about how to get the pork and mutton from Yan Jiecheng's hands. I didn't expect Yan Jiecheng to feel like he hadn't seen them at all. Yan Bugui, please point your face. We are strangers. If you continue to beep, I will go to the street and your school. Don't blame me for making you stand out. Yan Jie turned into a faint way. Hang the chamber of the pig and sheep under my doorstep's handmade corridor. It's below -10 degrees now, and it will freeze hard soon. And now that the courtyard is full of people in broad daylight, the Jia family dare not come out to steal. Jia Zhang and Qinhuairu only then noticed that the door of the neighboring house was open. Yan Jiecheng is about to enter. Jia Zhang and Qinhuairu were anxious. Wait, Yan Jiecheng, how do you get into this room? Qinhuairu asked first. Are you saying that this house belongs to you? Yan Jiecheng said indifferently, what right do you have to ask? Why should I answer you? Yan Jiecheng deliberately provoked trouble. Actually, it's okay to say that it's divided within the factory. But in order to increase his anger level, Yan Jiecheng had to repeatedly jump horizontally. Yan Jiecheng has already opened the broadcast. He felt that there was a sound of broadcasting, which gave him a sense of ceremony. Now Yan Jiecheng's mind is filled with sounds of anger +10. This is the house that our family values, and Zhonghai said he will share it with us. Jia Zhang howled, this is our house. Then I'll go to the factory and see what power Zhonghai has to distribute the country's assets. Yan Jiecheng said coldly, by the way, Master Yi, you came back just in time. You allocated this house to the Jia family. Then I'll go back to the factory and ask Director Li to find a new house for me. TSK, you still have a lot of power in the job market. Zhonghai is feeling a bit uncomfortable today. He took a leave and won't be working anymore. As an 8th level worker, if he takes a leave, the workshop director doesn't even record it. In the future, when processing high difficulty workpieces, it will be necessary to increase the output of Zhonghai. There are no tasks at the moment, and Zhonghai has also completed his own work. Of course I let him back. Zhonghai was thinking of going out to buy New Year's goods in the afternoon, but he didn't expect to encounter this situation as soon as he entered the courtyard. Although I don't know the detailed process of the matter, Zhonghai also knew in his heart that it must be Jiecheng who is acting as a demon. But he can't say anything about Jiecheng yet, he still has to rely on Jia Dongshu to provide him with retirement. Yan Jiecheng, I didn't say to allocate the house to the Jia family. I just said to go to the factory and apply for it for their family. Zhonghai quickly selected himself first. The factory assigned me a house, don't you need to report it to Master Yi first? Yan Jiecheng smiled and said. No. Zhonghai gritted his teeth. Watching Yan Jiecheng's cheap smile on his face, Zhonghai couldn't help but slap him. Lao Yi, you can't do this, but you said that this house can be applied for. Jiecheng jumped up. Yan Jiecheng sneered and closed the door after entering the house. After arriving at the bedroom, the Kong was paved. The temperature in the bedroom is very high, probably around 10 degrees Celsius. Yan Jiecheng was in the kitchen, stuffing a large piece of tree root into the stove. The watermark in the big iron pot above is boiling hot. After washing with some water, Yan Jiecheng lay on the Kong. When he was doing something, the sound of the broadcast kept going. The anger value is constantly increasing. Yan Jiecheng turned off the broadcast sound and whispered in his heart, Brother Guanzi, open my data panel. A light curtain appeared in front of Yan Jiecheng. Host Yan Jiecheng. Strength 30, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, spiritual power 40, maximum value for ordinary people is 10, anger value 11025. Mall coins 1525. Power level D for supernatural powers. TSK, try not to move the gold coins. Otherwise, you'll have to look at those things in the mall in the future. Yan Jiecheng said secretly in his heart, but the anger value is enough to win the lottery. Brother Guanzi draws a prize. 7 boxes appeared on the light screen in front of Yan Jiecheng. Yan Jiecheng still chose the middle one. As soon as the box was opened, the two brothers' mechanical sound rang. The host gains the ability to create tables manually. Get a set of table-making tools. As soon as the words fell, Yan Jiecheng felt a large amount of information rushing into his brain. Even though his mental strength is 40, he feels dizzy and bloated. Anyway, take a nap first, Yan Jiecheng murmured as he closed his eyes. Yan Jiecheng slept until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, got up, and went to the bathroom to freshen up. Slowly opened the kitchen door and came out. Solve it, I've cleaned up the things for you. Grandma Wang came over with a clay pot. Inside are pigs and sheep's heads, as well as the large intestine, small intestine, and stomach. Thank you, Grandma Wang. Yan Jiecheng took the earthen bowl. Jiecheng, thank you. The 3 children have eaten some meat, Grandma Wang sighed. Her son died from a work-related injury, and her daughter-in-law ran away. Leave 3 grandchildren behind. My eldest grandson is only 16 years old, and there are still 2 years left before he wants to go to work. My second grandson is 10 years old, and my youngest granddaughter is only 6 years old. The family is counting on that little pension and a monthly subsidy of 10 yuan. Grandma Wang will wait for Dabao for another 2 years, and life will be easier. Yan Jiecheng smiled and said, then I'll go braised pig head. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.